Hey crew, it's Mike with Riding in the Ozarks, and it's time for another edition of Motorcycle News. The last one we did was right before the Sportster S launch, so let's start there. The Sportster S was launched by Harley-Davidson, comes in at $15,000, 121 horsepower, and none of that was a big surprise to me. The price kind of came in where I thought it was, and the specs were really close to what was leaked and I already knew. If you want to know more about that motorcycle and the specifications, I already did a full video on it here. We're not going to get into all that. I also did a video comparing the Sportster S to the FTR S. And if you want to know why I think that's the best competition that Harley-Davidson targeted this bike for, go ahead and watch that video. Link's right here. I know a lot of people are upset about the new Sportster. They think it's too expensive. They don't like the styling. You know, all I can tell you is the more I look at the bike, the more it grows on me. I'm trying not to make up my mind too much until I ride one, which, by the way, I hear they should be on demo trucks in September. So I am hoping to get to do a demo ride in September, and after I've actually ridden one, I'll let you know what I think about it. Speaking of the Sportster S, at the end of the launch video, they teased these clips. To me, that's the next Sportster. That's what I think they're teasing here, and that's what they're kind of talking about at that point in the video. These clips really remind me of a late 70s XL-CR. You remember that? The cafe racer looking Sportster? I do believe this next Sportster is going to be more affordable, and I think for performance, they're going to target it more in line with the Scout. It's going to be interesting to see, and I believe that's going to be the next Revolution Max engine motorcycle we'll see. I'm hoping the Bronx will not be far behind it. While we're talking about Harley-Davidson, many of you may not have known, but Nancy Davidson passed away last month. I'd like to take a moment and remember her. By many, she was known as the First Lady of Motorcycling. She was the wife to Willie G. My prayers and condolences go out to the family. You know, when Harley-Davidson launched the 2021 models, there wasn't anything in the touring line that made me want to upgrade from my 16 Street Glide. Well, I have to admit, I really like this new Artic Blast paint set they're coming out with for a Street Glide special. Now that limited edition paint set, the Artic Blast, that's going to raise the price up from $27,000 to $32,000. So for about $5,000, you can have one of 500. Well, I wish I had that kind of money to blow, but I don't. So it looks like I'm staying on the 16 Street Glide for a while longer. Have any of you guys ever thought about using rideshare? Would you put your motorcycle up for somebody to rent on rideshare? Did you know rideshare is offering a $250 bonus for specific kinds of motorcycles? Yeah, you just have to rent it 3 times between now and I think the end of October. There's a link to that article down below if you want to know more about it. That's kind of an interesting concept. I'm hoping the channel gets big enough by next year that maybe I can buy a motorcycle and the channel will make the payment on it. And I could do a review on it and then sell it and do another one. Things that you might be interested in, like the new Sportster S, and have it for a few months, or the Pan America. I think that'd be a really cool thing to do. Even maybe the Triumph 660 still kind of on my radar. But if I could rent that out on rideshare and they help me make the payment on it, that would really help to make things happen. I don't know how much demand there is in my area that somebody would rent one of those motorcycles. But if I get one for the channel, I'm probably going to put it on there and see how it does. Have any of you guys ever put a motorcycle out on rideshare? And how did that work out for you? So Honda's launching an NX200 in the country of India only. I know a lot of people probably don't care about that are not in India, but if motorcycles like that do well there, maybe they'll bring them to other markets. And I think 200 to 400 cc adventure motorcycles or dual sports are great motorcycles for people to start out on that are learning to ride. Would you consider a 200 to 400 cc dual sport or adventure motorcycle if you were just learning to ride? Did you know Royal Enfield has announced another motorcycle to their US lineup, the Meteor 350. They already had the Bullet 500, the Himalayan, the Continental GT 650, and the Interceptor 650. I knew Royal Enfield is trying to make a push into the US. They want to be a global motorcycle company, and they see the US as a requirement to make that happen. And from what I've read, the sales last year were only around 3,000 units, so sales are pretty low still. But recently, we went to an Indian dealer in Columbia, Missouri, and they also are carrying Royal Enfields. While we were there, I got Firecracker to sit on the Himalayan. If you're not familiar with the Himalayan, it's a 411cc adventure or dual sport style motorcycle, and it retails for $4,500 new. Now, we paid just over $3,000 for a DR200 that is 14 years old recently. So maybe I made a mistake. Maybe we should just bought a Himalayan. But the Suzuki is kind of bulletproof. Do any of you have any experience with the new Royal Enfield motors? What do you think about the Himalayan? Do you think that would be a good option for someone who is wanting to learn to ride dirt, want to be able to take a motorcycle down the gravel road, but yet still needs to take it down the highway to get to that said gravel road? Speaking of riding on the dirt, did you guys catch this one? Triumph has announced that they are going to produce motocross and enduro motorcycles. They even have people like Ricky Carmichael involved. It'll be very interesting to see how the Triumph compares to the metric and European bikes that already compete in this space. I'll be watching this story as it unravels. Before we get into the rally news, let's talk about the BMW R18s. Yep, they've been announced. The base model R18 is about $17,500. This one kind of reminds me of like a Softail. Then they have a classic model for $19,500 that kind of reminds me more of a Heritage. Then we move up to the 18B. This bike looks more like a base street glide and comes in at $22,000. From there, you move up to the R18 Transcontinental, which even has a trunk, so it looks more like a competitor to the Ultra Classics to me, and it comes in at $25,000. I still see the dealer network being something that holds BMW back here in the US. If you live in a big metro area or near one where there's a BMW dealer already, then great. But if you're like me and the nearest BMW dealer is either 1.5 hours or 3.5 hours away, and you don't like going to the big metro, that's kind of a drawback. I've got 3 or 4 Harley-Davidson dealers I can pick from without having to set foot in a big metropolitan area. So Sturgis is wrapping up, and it sounds like the attendance numbers are going to be high. They may not break the record of the 75th anniversary, but I hear 700,000 is possible for the 10-day event. Even more people showed up this year than last year. And the governor of South Dakota rode her Indian one day during Sturgis for some kind of special ride. Speaking of rallies, Bikefest is coming up next month here in the Ozarks. This is the biggest motorcycle rally in the state of Missouri, and last year had over 100,000 people in attendance. Now, there's been some problems down at Lake of the Ozarks. There was a motorcycle club that got involved in a shooting and a fatality during bike night in July. As a result, the city of Lake Ozark has canceled bike night for the remainder of the season. I hear the city is not issuing permits for outside beer tents or other venues like outside bands. And some of the businesses have put up signs that say no colors as a result. If you want to know more about that whole incident, I've done a couple of videos talking about that. I'll put a link to those in the description down below. I just want everybody to know, if you come to Lake Ozark during the Bikefest rally, you may find that some things are a little different than they have been in the past, and if you're wondering why, that's the story. If you've been wondering how you can help support the channel, I've enabled YouTube memberships down below. You click the link to learn more. For as little as a few dollars a month, you can get perks like early access to videos like this one. And if you're not into supporting the channel that way, but you do shop on Amazon, I have some Amazon affiliate links in the description down below. If you click one of those links before you go shopping on Amazon, we make a small commission off any purchases you make, and it doesn't cost you an extra dime. Alright guys, if you like this edition of Motorcycle News, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you do that YouTube thing, check out the content on my channel, and if you dig it, hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to ring that bell to be notified the next time I drop a new video. And as always, thank you for your support, stay safe, and keep on riding.